On a quiet March night in 2004, a driver noticed something strange on a back road in rural Vermont. A green Oldsmobile sat pressed against the wall of an abandoned farmhouse, its rear end lodged into the siding as if it had been backed in deliberately. Inside the car, everything was still there. 2 freshly cut paychecks, a pack of cigarettes, a bottle of water, a driver's license, glasses, even prescription medication. But the one thing missing was its driver, 17-year-old Brianna Maitland. What happened that night has haunted Vermont for 2 decades. Was it a staged accident, a kidnapping, or something far more chilling? Before we go further, I want you to put yourself in this scene. If you stumbled on that farmhouse and saw this car, what would your first thought be? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. And while you're here, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell, because in the next few minutes, you're going to hear everything we know, and everything we don't, about the disappearance of Brianna Maitland. And also let me know in the comments section where you are watching from. I always love to see how far these stories reach. In this story, we're going to piece together the final hours of Brianna Maitland's life before she vanished. We'll follow her from her last shift at the Black Lantern Inn, to the bizarre discovery of her car at an abandoned farmhouse, and through the critical days that followed when no one realized she was missing. You'll hear about the evidence investigators found, and the clues they didn't. We'll walk through the witnesses who came forward, the puzzling theories that emerged, and the heartbreaking delays that may have cost precious time. And just when it seemed the trail had gone cold, the FBI stepped back into the picture with a $40,000 reward, reigniting hope 2 decades after Brianna disappeared. But before we get there, we need to look closely at the one detail that still baffles investigators and haunts her family: the night she left work and never came home. On paper, Brianna's night was unremarkable. She worked her shift at the Black Lantern Inn, said goodbye to co-workers, and headed out into the cold Vermont night. The distance to her friend's house was short, just a few minutes' drive. But Brianna never made it. The next afternoon, a state trooper found her car in a scene that made no sense. Her Oldsmobile was not simply parked. It had been reversed sharply into the side of an abandoned farmhouse. The rear bumper was pressed against the building. A piece of plywood, once covering a broken window, now rested oddly on the car's trunk. Inside, police found a still life frozen in time. 2 uncashed paychecks from her job, a bottle of water, a pack of cigarettes, even her glasses and prescription medication, essentials she never went without. Nothing suggested she had run away. Nothing suggested a robbery. Everything about the scene screamed interruption. And yet there were no signs of a struggle outside the vehicle. No footprints in the snow, no blood, no broken glass. Whoever or whatever caused that car to end up there had left no obvious trace. But the real problem was only beginning. For reasons investigators have never fully untangled, Brianna's disappearance wasn't immediately recognized. Her friends assumed she was staying elsewhere. Her family believed she might have been with coworkers. Days slipped by. It wasn't until 5 days later that her mother learned the abandoned car was her daughter's. By then the trail was already cold. That lost time has haunted the case ever since. Every hour that passed gave potential suspects time to move, memories time to fade, and crucial evidence time to vanish. And when investigators finally began asking questions, the answers they received only deepened the mystery, because multiple witnesses claimed they saw things that night. Things that didn't quite line up. As word spread of the abandoned Oldsmobile, witnesses began to come forward, and what they described only raised more questions. Brianna's Oldsmobile wasn't just oddly positioned, it was backed into the side of the building as if it had been deliberately staged. The doors were unlocked. Inside, officers found her driver's license, 2 uncashed paychecks from the Black Lantern Inn, and even her contact lenses. These weren't things Brianna would simply walk away from. It was as if she had vanished in the middle of her routine life, leaving behind everything she needed to survive. One person recalled driving past the farmhouse late that night and seeing the car with its turn signal still blinking, as if Brianna had only just arrived. Another said they noticed a small, light-colored car idling nearby. Some even reported seeing a tall, stocky man standing near her vehicle. But none of these accounts matched perfectly. Timelines didn't add up. Descriptions conflicted. And with every new story, the picture grew more confusing instead of clearer. Police couldn't determine if the farmhouse scene was a botched accident, a staged setup, or the cover-up of something much darker. If Brianna had been taken, had it happened right there at the abandoned house? Or was the car deliberately placed to throw investigators off? Rumors spread through the small Vermont community. Some whispered about drug connections. Others believed she may have been targeted by someone she knew. But with no firm evidence, every theory was just another shadow in the dark. For her family, each day without answers was another layer of torment. For investigators, it was a race against time with almost nothing to hold on to. And then came the most painful revelation of all. The realization that vital opportunities to find Brianna may have been lost forever in those first crucial days. As police worked through the tangled details of Brianna Maitland's disappearance, a troubling web of names and connections began to surface. The first lead came from close to home. Just weeks before vanishing, Brianna had a very public altercation with a former friend, Keely Lacrosse. The fight, which left Brianna with a black eye, was no secret in their small Vermont community. Could that grudge have lingered? Investigators considered the possibility, but Keely denied involvement, and no evidence placed her near the farmhouse. Then came the reports from that chilling night. Several drivers passing the Dutch Burn farmhouse described eerie, fragmented scenes. One said Brianna's Oldsmobile was still running with its headlights on. Another swore the turn signal clicked endlessly, lighting up the darkness. A few went further, claiming they saw a stocky man standing beside the car, his face hidden in the shadows. None of these witnesses could be certain of the exact time, and none could positively identify who that man was. But the trail didn't end there. Rumors began to swirl that Brianna may have been connected, even on the fringes, to the local drug scene. Two names in particular caught the attention of investigators: Nathaniel Jackson and Raymond Stoney Ryans. According to police reports, Brianna was seen at their home not long before she vanished. Both men were questioned extensively, and while suspicion lingered, no direct evidence tied them to her disappearance. The possibility that Brianna's case was linked to drugs, debts, or even retaliation became one of the leading theories. FBI files and state police records note that organized crime connections in rural Vermont, while small, were very real. If Brianna had crossed paths with the wrong people, it could explain the deliberate staging of her car. But there was also the unsettling idea that her disappearance had nothing to do with strangers at all. That it may have been someone she knew, someone who understood her routines and who took advantage of the isolation of that farmhouse road. Every theory seemed plausible, and yet every path led to a dead end. Witness statements contradicted each other. Suspects were questioned but never charged. Tips came in but none led to Brianna. And as weeks turned into months, her parents faced the agonizing truth. Not only had their daughter vanished, but the people who might know the truth were staying silent. But the most devastating part wasn't just the suspects. It was the way vital opportunities to find Brianna slipped away in those first critical days. Opportunities that would never come again. The days after Brianna's disappearance turned into a nightmare for her family. At first, her parents didn't even realize she was missing. Brianna's friends assumed she had stayed overnight with someone after work. Her co-workers didn't think much of it either. It wasn't until her mother, Kelly, failed to hear from her daughter for several days that alarm bells rang. By then, almost a full week had passed. And with every lost hour, any evidence that might have pointed to what happened that night slipped further away. The abandoned Oldsmobile, left awkwardly pressed against the Dutch Burn farmhouse, became more than just a car. It became a haunting symbol of missed opportunity. For 5 long days, it sat impounded in a police lot before investigators even connected it to Brianna's disappearance. During that time, crucial forensic evidence could have been lost forever. Her parents, Bruce and Kelly Maitland, were thrust into a living nightmare, chasing down rumors, pleading for answers and enduring whispers that their daughter may have brought trouble upon herself. Bruce described the torment of hearing theories about drugs or shady acquaintances, while knowing in his heart that Brianna had simply been a bright, determined young woman whose life had been violently interrupted. And as the investigation dragged on, tips poured in from all corners. Some claimed Brianna had been taken across the border into Canada. Others said she had been murdered and her body hidden in the Vermont woods. Each new lead was another cruel wave of hope, followed by despair. The FBI joined the case, but progress was painfully slow. Despite searches, interviews, and countless man-hours, there was no body, no confirmed suspect, and no clear motive. For the Maitlands, the emotional weight was unbearable. Imagine not just losing your child but losing them into silence. No answers, no closure, just an endless list of what if. And yet, even in the darkest moments, the family refused to give up. Their persistence kept the case alive. Their voices made sure Brianna wasn't forgotten. But what truly reignited hope, almost 2 decades later, was something few expected: the FBI stepping back into the spotlight with a $40,000 reward. A reminder that even after all these years, Brianna's case is still considered solvable. Nearly 20 years have passed since Brianna Maitland vanished on that quiet Vermont road. And still her family waits. Still investigators search. And still the Dutchburn farmhouse, long since destroyed in a fire, is remembered as the silent witness to a crime no one has confessed to. In 2022, the FBI reignited hope by offering a $20,000 reward, later raised in partnership with state authorities to a staggering $40,000. The message was clear: someone out there knows the truth. Someone may still be carrying the weight of a secret they've held for decades. This case remains active. Vermont State Police, the FBI, and local agencies continue to review tips, test evidence with advanced forensic tools, and search for answers. Every so often, a new lead emerges, proof that Brianna's story has not been forgotten. For her parents, Bruce and Kelly, closure means more than finding who did this. It means bringing their daughter home no matter the condition. It means ending the nightmare of uncertainty that began on March 19, 2004. And now, as you sit here listening, one haunting truth lingers. This mystery could be solved. All it takes is one person stepping forward, one voice breaking the silence. So if you've stayed with us this far, thank you. You're part of keeping Brianna's story alive. And we want to hear from you. What do you think happened that night at the Dutchburn farmhouse? Do you believe this was the work of someone she trusted, or a brutal act by strangers? Share your thoughts below. Every perspective matters, and every conversation keeps Brianna from fading into the cold case files. And if you want to follow this story as it develops, or dive into other mysteries just like it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That way, you'll be the first to know when we uncover new details or release the continuation of this case. Because somewhere out there, the truth about Brianna Maitland is still waiting to be told.